Welcome back to Dave's Top Listens of 2023. A short recap. This is where I talk about some records I listened to over the past year that I really enjoyed. I listened to 265 records that I'd never listened to before. First video I did was 20 through 11, and this list is going to be 10 through 1. So without further ado, let's go for top 10 of 2023. Is Michael Legrand with Legrand Jazz. This is an amazing record that I picked up at a record store in Anchorage, Alaska, Obsession Records. Thank you very much. Michael Legrand is the arranger and conductor of this, so he basically took some other people's music, arranged them, and then had what unbelievably is an amazing lineup for different songs. But just to mention some of the artists that are on here: Miles Davis, Bill Evans, Paul Chambers, John Coltrane, Herbie Mann, Hank Jones, Art Farmer, Donald Byrd. The lineup, apparently this guy just had some type of pull with a bunch of pretty amazing players, and he got them together and recorded this record before they were all immensely popular. It's very swinging, so it's not that post-bop stuff, but there are very few hints of post-bop going on in it. You can always tell when Miles is playing, just does that horn. This is a great record. It's well worth the money I spent on it. You can pick it up at your local record store. This is a new release, or you can download it from one of your streaming services. Again, it says right there, Miles Davis. That's the biggest selling point. But come on, John Coltrane right after that. Hello. Anyway, great jazz record. Highly recommend it. Number 9 is Social Distortion, Sex, Love, and Rock and Roll. Social D. There's a lot of stories I have about Social D. Social Distortion was the first punk rock show I watched in Hawaii when I first got out here. Got into the Pink's Garage, got to see Social D before I discovered the local music scene. They're just an amazing band. As far as I'm concerned, they're a royalty as far as punk rock goes. They're not the king and queen, and they're not second, third, or fourth in succession, but they are definitely in the court of royalty of punk rock. As far as Southern California rock goes, punk rock goes, these guys are tops. It's typical West Coast punk rock, but more rock and roll feeling, definitely rockabilly-ish too. Mike Ness, their singer, I would say Hank Williams Sr. of punk rock, the way his lyrics are kind of delivered, very country feeling to him. He's done some country records on his own. They're just really good, straight up power chords and blues type solos on a fast beat, but then slowed down. Lyrics are great. I hadn't listened to them in a long time. It came up on random. So I was like, oh, I wonder what else they've done. Found this record. It's great. It's just road trip, kind of loud windows down, going across the desert in California to get to your next destination. Good stuff. Very good punk rock. Number 8 is Ahmad Jamal, Emerald City Nights, live at the Penthouse in 1966 to 68. This is a live record from legendary piano player Ahmad Jamal. He is just a brilliant piano player. Again, piano-based drums. There seems to be a pattern here with me and piano-based drum type of jazz releases. This was a record store day release this year on Black Friday, so it was probably a bit overpriced, but you're not going to get this anywhere else because the record store day stuff, they do a lot of unreleased live stuff. It's a really good record. I haven't been able to find it streaming, so the song I put on there is from this, called Emily, but it's from another record. But I haven't been able to find this on any of the streaming services, probably because it's new, probably because I don't know. I mean, I don't know how streaming services work, but Ahmad Jamal is just a beautiful, beautiful piano player. He passed away recently, which is sad for the world. But some of his music, you can pick up any one of his records, and it's just beautiful. He's got a huge catalog of stuff, but this is a great live record from Ahmad Jamal. Number 7 is the incredible Jimmy Smith with Got My Mojo Working, the record that I bought this year. This was recommended to me from a friend of mine who we do every Sunday. We send each other one record we think they should listen to for the week. He sent me this sometime during this year. It was so good, I went on to eBay immediately and found a really good copy. It's really easy to get, super cheap, so but it's really good. Jimmy Smith, I mentioned organs in the first video if you watched. Jimmy Smith is the ultimate jazz organ player. At times the organ for him is the singer. It's delivering the lyrics without delivering lyrics, obviously. It's just really good organ. I mean, sometimes organ just can get like, kind of like, but it's so funky, so jazzy, so smooth, but then so like just crazy out there, and you can just feel his energy. I've heard some of his live stuff, and you can tell he put on a show, and playing an organ like 2 levels, and obviously takes a special type of talent. Jimmy Smith, Got My Mojo Working. Number 6 is a nostalgic pop punk band for me. The artist is Sicko, and the name of the record is In an Alternate Timeline. Now, Sicko are probably one of the greatest pop punk bands of the mid to late 90s. That's just not me saying it. I would gather that most people who are into pop punk, like independent pop punk, would say the same exact thing. These guys were like just prolific musicians. My band got to play live with them one time, so again, that's more nostalgic for me. But the cool thing about them is like whoever's singing the song, there's 2 singers, whoever's singing the song is the one playing the guitar. So when you watch them live, they switch. So if they were singing, they were playing guitar, and vice versa, they were playing bass. So they weren't singing. So good. Pop punk is simple. It's normally 3 chords and not overly complicated, but if those 3 chords are done correctly with fun lyrics, sometimes deep lyrics, then you've got a winning combination. And Sicko were the tops of pop punk in the 90s for me and for a ton of other people. Number 5 is from Black Pumas, self-titled album called Black Pumas now. This is another one of those records that was recommended to me by the algorithm that says, hey, you like this band, so you're probably going to like this band. I didn't know how to describe them, but I looked up some stuff on the good old interwebs, and they're referred to as psychedelic soul, which makes a lot of sense. 2-piece band. I cannot believe they're just 2 guys that did this, went to the studio, became friends and went to the studio and just put out this record. It's beautiful, beautiful psychedelic soul, or soul, for have you. And yeah, I mean, it's a great record. It's Number 4 is Pale J with Bewilderment. Here we go with guys who can sing falsetto all the time throughout the whole entire record, and it's so good. And he is such a storyteller. I mean, his songs are just, there's so much like vulnerability to his music, and it's just magical. As soon as I heard it, I just fell in love with it. Good. Pale J, I don't know who you are, I don't know what you look like, but I love your music. I'm a fan, and I hope you will be too. Number 3 is from a band called True Loves, and this is Famous Last Words. Off with the band all like talking and laughing, and then it just comes in like this. I wrote it down in my notes. I want to make sure I get this correctly. Begins and the song starts. In come the drums. Okay. Hello, drums. Now the guitar. Hello, guitar. Oh, and then the keys. Oh, hi, Mr. Keyboards. Bass comes in with a nice little soul bass line, and then the horns come in. So the whole band is introduced in the beginning of this record. And then it just goes. It's just like, it feels like a jam session of amazing soul musicians. This record is tops of my list of instrumental soul that I listened to this year. Number 2 is Aaron Frazer, introducing Aaron Frazer. Kind of cool thing about this was Dan Auerbach of Black Keys, guitar player and singer from Black Keys, amazing musician. He got with Aaron and said we should do a record. He co-wrote and produced this record with him. It's just really good soul. Another guy who's doing falsetto 99% of the time, and his falsetto, I mean, it's an easy reference. It reminds me of Smokey Robinson with the Miracles, just like effortless and just like delicate, but like delivery, and it's just a really, 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 really good record. I mean, obviously, I liked it a lot because it came in at number 2. I want to learn how to sing like him so badly. Probably never happen, but I sound great in my car alone, and no one else in the world needs to hear me sing this way, but I'm enjoying it, and I really love this record. And finally, number 1 on Dave's top listens of 2023. This was a simple choice for me to pick as number 1 because it's from an artist I absolutely adore and admire. His name is John K. Samson, and this record is called Provincial. John K. Samson was a member of one of the greatest political punk rock bands of all time, in my opinion, Propagandhi. He co-wrote probably my favorite punk rock record of all time, Less Talk, More Rock. John went on to form another band who I absolutely adore, the Weaker Thans. I had a Weaker Thans t-shirt. It had like the Weaker Thans across it and a lot of like protest kind of looking artwork. I wore that until it wore itself out. Propagandhi songs he did were more folky, slower, not as hard metal driven as the other writer. I can't remember his name right now. When he went on to form the Weaker Thans, it was more folky with guitar edge still. And as a solo artist, he's written some beautiful, he's still punk rock because of his lyrics, but it's beautiful folk music. This record, Provincial, is the kind of record you put on. You lean your head and you're on your long road trip. You lean your head on the window, and it's the soundtrack to what you're seeing going by. Maybe it's an old man in Korea farming. Maybe it's a guy in Turkey with like stacks and stacks of hay on his motorcycle. Maybe it's a West Coast drive and you're going through, Monument Valley, but you're leaning your head against this window, and this is the soundtrack to your road trip. This is what I wrote about this. So, this is the record you listen to as a soundtrack of a bus ride across a place you've never been, and forever you are reminded of that drive each time you hear the record afterwards. So yeah, John K. Samson, Provincial. It's just a beautiful, beautiful record. And there you have it. We've gone through my top 10 through 1. Thank you very much for dealing with me again this year. As always, please, if you have a record that means something to you or just something that you've listened to recently that you really liked, please send me that suggestion. I love getting new music suggestions from friends. I'm constantly looking for new music to listen to. Thank you again for sticking around and listening to me talk about music, something I love, love, love dearly. And we'll see you next year. And Happy New Year to you and yours.